Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, April 19th. It's Tuesdays with Tony. I'm the captain that steers the ship. And with me is the captain that steers the ship, Tony MAZUR. How are you?
I'm doing well. Usually we do Mondays with MAZUR, but yesterday was a holiday that I guess dates back to like the 1600s in Poland. And
no, I put up a Patreon only episode that you couldn't do it because of Dingus Day.
Dingus Day. And basically it's the Polish St. Patrick's Day in the Great Lakes region. So if you're in Buffalo, Erie, Pennsylvania, Cleveland, and everybody gets together the day after Easter, or what they call Wet Monday. And the reason for that is not just because it snowed like crazy yesterday, but it's a lot of people give up drinking for Lent. And, Easter Sunday, you have a good time. You're like, yeah, let's keep it going into Mondays. So they call it Wet Monday too. And it was pretty wet yesterday. A lot of horrible Polish beer, but I'm actually not hungover today. I just drank beer, no shots yesterday. Not even with Hot Carl. And I saw Hot Carl yesterday. We didn't even do shots. So
really, how's Hot Carl doing?
He's good. I saw him twice over the weekend. I saw him on Friday, and we did do shots. We did shots of Jaeger because my wife hates Jaeger, and of course, I'm like, round of Jaeger, please.
Where'd you see him on Friday?
At a little place called Merry Arts, and then around the corner where he hosts karaoke on Friday.
I missed that fucking guy.
Just the same. It's the same haunts over and over again.
He's been doing that routine for probably almost 20 years at this point. As long as Tom Brady's been in the NFL, he's been doing that same run around the corner, Merry Arts, all that shit.
And then yesterday we saw him hosting bingo. He was doing bingo on Dingus Day. And there's like these fourth graders that are in there, and he's just cursing and just using just filthy language in front of them. We're like, yep, that's our wedding DJ, Hot Carl.
Yeah. He's like, how's Zumock doing?
yeah, and that came up. Yeah, how's Chad going? He's down in Florida now. But that's hence why we're doing Tuesdays with Tony today. And like I said yesterday, no shots, just all beer. So I'm good today. I'm just tired. Not too much going on, but a lot of going on in the news, I noticed.
Before we get into the news, I want to do my plugs out of the gate.
Ooh, yes.
Because I always do them at the end. I want to do, because I have some cool shows coming up that I want to promote. This weekend, I'm at the Riverside Theater headlining 4 shows in Vero Beach. I love this little beach community. It's a great venue. If you live anywhere in the area, please come out to the show. And next weekend, I'll be at the Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club in Winter Haven, where the Cleveland Indians minor league team used to play. Indians.
Yes, the Indians, the Guardians, since they played at home last week, are 0-3 because they really took a dump on the coffee table over the weekend. But that's cool. You're doing those gigs. Although with the mask thing off the planes, that'll probably get a lot more people wanting to go on taking trips, because that's the one thing that has been really tiresome. So as people probably have heard, and mass transit for most places and most major airlines, they decided to drop the mask mandate. Well, because it was a federal judge struck it down, and then he said,
Florida.
"Well, I guess we're gonna have to keep it." Of course, and it's of course Florida.
And she's hot.
Yeah, she's not bad.
She's not bad.
She's my age.
That's awesome, and she was Trump appointed. So it sucks. It's like I was like kind of like I don't want to get on a fucking plane. Like I was going to go next month I'm in Chattanooga. I looked up prices, Delta prices, and they were pretty expensive.
So you're allowed to leave the state. We just want to clear that up, right?
Yeah, that's fucking Kevin causing problems. And
just to clear it up for other people.
But the reason I didn't pull the trigger on the flight is I'm just like, I'm not wearing a fucking mask. I'm just going to drive.
No.
I'd rather drive 8.5 hours than fly with that mask on and go through the Atlanta airport.
And it's not even just so much the mask, it's the theater. It's the whole thing of I have my little ginger ale that I'm sitting on the plane, and I got to pull my mask down and go, over the nose, sir, over the nose. Oh, Jesus Christ, are we really doing this? Well, apparently we're not anymore, and I'm happy about it. I'm actually jealous. My wife's going on a girls' trip over the weekend. She's actually going down to Savannah, and she gets to go on the plane without the mask for the first time in over 2 years. I'm actually jealous. I'm like, I need to find a flight. Where can I go?
I know. I actually want to book this flight to Chattanooga. It's even though it's expensive just
Way
so
too
I
expensive.
just so I could wear the fucking mask, or not wear a mask. Excuse me. I was cheering when I saw that announcement.
If you thought you were cheering from home, how about the amount of people? I've seen plenty of videos of people on a plane cheering when they made the announcement. I said, well, ladies and gentlemen, here on this Delta flight, our company is making masks optional after the ruling that happened today. And you get people ripping the masks off, cheering, cheers to their neighbor and everything, and having a good time. And yes, there's going to, but here's the difference, folks. And this is what I always talk about on my podcast, the Check Your Brain podcast on Patreon, is I don't care if you wear your mask. I don't care if you wear 8 masks on your face on the plane. That's your choice. No one's saying it should be illegal. You're the person. She's
wow. Not bad.
Wow.
Your Honor. I was going to say, I want to marry this woman. Then it says right here in the article, she's married to a Hollywood, Florida police detective.
Oh, yeah. We better stay away.
Holy
I like that look.
Dude, yes. Send me to prison, baby. Give me a punishment. She's a hero to me. I love this woman for just doing the right thing. Common sense.
Of course, yes.
Anyways, go ahead.
She is I'm just gonna say she does her job well. She serves a great purpose. But yeah, people are really excited about it. And I know that's the thing, is we really haven't talked COVID on this podcast. You're welcome, Dustin. But this is one of those things where we're 25 months into this pandemic and people are tired of this. If you're not tired of it by now, it's because you're addicted to it. You like the fact that the last couple of years you can rat on your neighbors and dox them because you were happy to see priests and rabbis getting arrested because they weren't social distancing and wearing masks. I mean, so I sent Chad, we did a little show prep yesterday, as you could tell in the the mask freak out here in the email. And if you're only listening on the just on the Patreon and just on the stream right now, I sent Chad about 5 screenshots of these complete lunatics losing their minds yesterday over the mask thing. And the first one is Rosanna Arquette, not even the best Arquette of the family.
I will not fly without a mask.
Okay, no one's stopping you. You can fly with the mask on. I'll fly without one. That's called America. It's called freedom, bitch.
Look, this guy's a doctor. He says, I will not be flying Alaskan Air until they reinstate the public safety measures.
Yes. Well, this guy's a complete grifter. He's been the one from the whole beginning that just says, because he's the one that's been warning people of the BA2 Omicron subvariant and everything, and this pandemic's not over. It's like it's like this guy's been proven to be like a fake doctor. And this was his response, by the way, to Alaska Airlines. But then all of them, like Delta and United, all dropped theirs within the next like hour or so. So this is him. So is he just boycotting all flights? And by the way, this is the same moron who pulled his family out of schools and went to a place where there wasn't mandates and went overseas. So it's hilarious.
Just complete hypocrites.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is a doctor too. This Jeremy Faust.
Yeah, apparently.
The odd thing about my being disappointed in United dropping its mask mandate is how many people who claim to love kids are totally cool with this, meaning that a small number of babies will die from COVID when we're weeks away from a vaccine for all ages, for all ages over 6 months.
So he's talking about the babies that are dying. Do you know how many kids under 18 have died, like actual children have died of COVID? And if you take away the fact that they've had like 18 comorbidities and all this other stuff, it's basically zero. It's 0 kids have died of COVID. And he's, what about all the babies that'll die? What babies that'll die? There are more babies that'll die of that vaccine that you're putting out, giving to six months old, than all these kids getting myocarditis and all these other health. What's with all these soccer players, these healthy soccer players that just dropping of heart problems? I mean, we're not going to ask any questions? No? Okay.
Jeffrey Toobin in the house.
This is the guy from CNN who was caught masturbating on a Zoom with
the decision by the young Trump-appointed federal judge ending the mask mandate in travel shows the federal judiciary has turned into the Senate. Democrat and Republican judges live in different worlds and rule differently. He's an
they
idiot.
they politicized the courts since before Roe versus Wade, and yeah, Jeffrey Toobin, probably again another guy jerking off in front of his coworkers on a Zoom and got to keep his job. Isn't that funny? It's amazing what people will get fired for nowadays with their work. Yet this guy can just start beating off in front of his coworkers and gets to keep his job.
Who's this cunt?
Apparently another MD. I think she also has pronouns in her bio too, so that tells you who she is.
Okay, so one of my patients tearfully told me she's canceling her flight to her daughter's wedding. These people are so out of control.
Outdoor wedding too.
Outdoor on Saturday. It's wild. Some people's mild discomfort while wearing a mask is more important than what's the fucking
immunocompromised
people's ability to live through the pandemic. These people, do you understand the long-term psychological effects these masks? There was I was just talking to Florentine about this. I was at a Chick-fil-A over the weekend over in Port Charlotte, and I was in there, and there's a family coming in with mask, and the mother took off the mask. The little kid started crying, like, put your mask back on. Like, I watched it happen because they're programmed that this is, we're going to die if we don't have these masks on.
Of course.
And these kids, like, who only know that way of life, the long-term psychological effects is going to be fucking us up for a long time. And these lunatics on Twitter, like, trying to say this is a bad thing. I mean, it's insanity.
These people have shown their hands now in the last 5-6 days now. I think it's 5 days. So from Thursday morning, when Elon Musk says, yeah, I'm thinking of buying the rest of Twitter, and the freak out that everybody started having is saying that he's going to allow Nazis on his platform, and he's going to perpetrate hate speech and everything. And then you have a couple of days later, this mask thing that happens, that they drop the mask mandate. And then you have just last night and this morning is that one of my favorite, it's on a bookmark for me, is a Twitter account called Libs of TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently it's a woman. And the reason I say that is because she's already basically been doxxed anyways. And it's a woman who goes on TikTok and has either had people submitting these videos of, and it, by the way, it's everything. It's not just these teachers, but it's teachers coming out to try to tell, I'm coming out to my children today. This is a big moment for me. And then you have other teachers who are having Pledge of Allegiance to the gay pride flag, as opposed to the American flag, the more inclusive one. And everything in between. I go to it. I use it a lot, full disclosure, for my podcast. And it's one of my first sites I go to show, because these people are narcissistic enough. This person who runs this Twitter account is not doxing anybody, because these people are putting it out on a public platform on TikTok. So it's already publicly available. It's just now there's finally consequences. And it's these people who are getting consequences where they're grooming children, whether you're talking about diddling children or trying to groom them into being good communist soldiers. And that's what's going on right now. And so the Washington Post has this Taylor Lorenz, who a couple of weeks ago was bawling her eyes out about how she gets harassed and has had some horrible, horrible things said to her. And she's contemplated suicide, as PTSD from all these mean people online. It's like, bitch, you're a 43-year-old woman who trolls through TikTok trying to find people and dox them and get them fired from their jobs. And this is what she does. So she's complaining about that a couple of weeks ago. So what does she do? She exposes the person who runs a private citizen who runs a TikTok or a Twitter account, exposing the people on TikTok. All she's doing is just has a platform for it. So in the last week, you've seen people are pro-doxing, pro-censorship, pro-grooming, and then now and anti-science with the mask thing. So they've really shown their hands. You want to talk about enemy of the people stuff? This is what's been going on just in the last week now.
There's a war at home, Tony. There is a war in your own backyard right now. We don't have to go to Ukraine. We are fighting amongst each other in the States.
Yeah. I mean, Chad, you've seen this. How many times have you had people come after you and, try to get you, like, private emails that you have had? And it's like being normalized by a group of people saying, no, your private conversation should be out there. Your your private life. That it doesn't matter if you get doxxed or not. You know, you probably did something wrong. You're probably a Nazi or a racist or whatever. And you go, really, is this the planet we want to live in? Well, it's then we're going to have to take two to tango, I guess. I mean, that's what it's got to be.
Anytime when I got in some sort of online dust up canceling and the online mob came after me, and it happened 3 times, I swear to God, every single time I went to their accounts, he, him, you know, fuck Trump, Hillary, 2000, you know, like it was the same people, all of them across the board.
It's true. But remember, they're the compassionate people because they feel it's justified to attack somebody whom they disagree with and use any means necessary because they're still the good guys. It's like if you killed a bunch of Nazis in Germany, you killed people, but you killed them and you did the right thing, or the right thing, I should say. And that's what Antifa, that's what Black Lives Matter, that's what a lot of these groups are doing, is that remember, their message is always correct. And if you go against that narrative, then you are justified in anything from doxing to physical harassment. I mean, this is a bad society we're living in, but it's got to take people like that Libs of TikTok account to finally fight back. And by the way, the feckless Republicans who, you know, they've talked about, you know, we shouldn't be pro censorship or anything. You go, you haven't done anything. What have you done to strike down the COVID stuff the last 2 years? What have you done to condemn and do anything about and hold people liable and responsible for the summer of love of 2020, of bricks getting smashed through windows, and how many communities that burned down, the billions of dollars of damage it took with those riots? And anyone on the GOP want to do anything about it? No, they'll put out a tweet like, oh, we condemn this violence. This shouldn't be happening in our cities. And that's all it stops. It's got to take some people to be actually responsible and start fighting back. You got to fight back against this stuff. Otherwise, if you just let it go and let them take over, you're fucked. You're finished.
No, I mean, I'm all about the resistance, and it's uncomfortable to fight back. So people rather just fall in line. And I understand that. It sucks being on the other end, you know, and you know what's right, you know what's logical, you know what's common sense, but yet people don't want the uncomfortable feeling of you're not allowed to disagree anymore. It's just not a thing. And it's crazy because, like you said, people are just losing their jobs over stupid shit because they're living in fear that doesn't exist. It's not there, but they're all afraid. They're afraid to lose their own jobs. They're afraid of, like, whatever the case may be. Like I remember when the fucking Bill Squire got me fired from House of Comedy. It was something that didn't even have nothing to do with him, but no. He wanted to feel a part of this mob mentality, and it sucks. It sucks. Nobody should ever have to lose their fucking jobs over nonsense.
I've had people, you know, try to get me fired from different jobs and everything, and do everything they can, and it's sad that they still think they're the good people because they disagree with like a tweet that I put out or something I said on a podcast or anything, and or something another guest says on a podcast, whatever the case is. Those will be the people that they're, in their mind, they're always going to be right. They're always on the right side of history. And let's prove that they're not on the right side of history, that they're the bad people. Are we the baddies now? Yes, you are. And it's really sick, but thankfully we're finally getting to a point where we're now having people that are standing up and saying, yeah, no, we're going to hold you accountable and responsible. We're not going to be a bunch of pussies anymore. We need to do something about this. And, you know, does that mean, is that comedians? Who's it going to take? Because it's certainly not our politicians, because they certainly do not have our best interests at heart. So it's got to be people in these culture wars. We're in wars culturally right now that we have to deal with. And if you're on the side that is in favor of censoring people that you disagree with and getting them fired from jobs, and you're on the side of masking toddlers because you think that they're chief vectors of transmission on a plane, and if you're the kind of people that's in favor of doxing people in order to get them fired, anything like that, I want to be on the other side. I want to be on the other side where you crack a couple of jokes, you have a good time, you drink beers on Dingus Day. You know, that's the fun side. We're the fun people. You're not the fun people. You're actually, in fact, you're miserable fucking people.
There's a dude who he signed up to my Patreon, and for the specific reason he's trying to like rat me out to other comics. Like he sends audio clippings. If we talk about anybody on Patreon, he'll send it to those people. And I'm just like, really? I was like, you're just trying to cause problems? Like that's what you want to do? How miserable are you to just like want to like get me in trouble with people?
It's sad, it's disgusting, but people get off on that. I mean, like people are we really that bored? We are really privileged as a society. If you're in your free time, when you're done with your 9-to-5 job or whatever you do for a living, you start going through people's podcasts and you start taking what they say, especially out of context, and posting it somewhere and getting people in trouble at whether it's their day jobs or they get in trouble with other comics and everything. Is that really, I mean, do you really get your jollies off of that? You get your rocks off. So it's, I mean, but it's going to take a lot of people just to say, yeah, no, I'm going to come out on the other side and you're going to come out looking like shit. So, it's sad.
I heard Bill Maher on Rogan recently. I had to shut it off because it was Rogan gets too high on his podcast with his guests sometimes, and it just sounds like too high people talking. I'm like, all right, dude, I don't
it's just pot talk. Yeah.
Potheads just rambling about deer. Anyways, he said something that was pretty interesting. Because a lot of people were confusing or saying that Bill Maher was going too conservative and he's liberal. It's like, I've always been the same. You guys are changing. He goes, I'm still liberal. I still like, you guys are just getting crazier. That's all it is.
I've always respected Bill Maher because he's somebody that he's consistent. Like he's a consistent liberal. So he does not like organized religion, which includes not just Christianity and Judaism, but Islam. So but that's the problem is the liberals will say, fuck Christianity, fuck it. But then you start talking about Islam and they're like, well, look, it's a religion of peace. There's a piece over there and there's a piece over there. Anyways, that's an old joke. But he's at least consistent with that by saying, no, see, I'm pro free speech. It's like, I may be anti-religion, but I'm also, if you want to practice your religion, I could think it's stupid, but you can go for it. And if you're somebody that that's what liberalism was. You think about the same people who were the liberals back in the 1970s ran publications like the National Lampoon, where they would have extremely offensive stuff. And Robert Crumb, the cartoonist, R. Crumb, it was almost like things started changing. And I talked to Christian Toto about that. He has a book called Virtue Bombs. It's on one of my podcasts maybe like a month or so ago. And trying to pinpoint when this change happened, when it went from liberals being the free speech, free expression, free sex and love and drugs and everything to we're the new Puritans where you can't say this and you can't do this. And where the Republicans and the conservatives were the people that were like, the stuffy anti-pornography, anti-cursing, parental advisory stickers, to the Republicans or the GOP or conservatives or anyone on the right that's just like, no, do whatever you want. We're pro-freedom. And it had to have changed probably about the Don Imus situation, because that's one where liberals would defend. It was like, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll defend your right to death for you to say that. And then when Don Imus comes out and says, nappy-headed hose, all of a sudden the liberals turned and the conservatives are like, well, wait a second. He was trying for a dumb joke. It's dumb. It was stupid, but does he really need to lose his job over it? And I think that's when you started seeing that changeover. And ever since then, for the last 15 years, it's been people, it's not even people who are conservative. It's just people like you and I who are pro-free speech that are like, look, I don't care what you say whatever you want. And the liberals are like, no, you need to be shut down. You need to be doxxed. You need to be harassed. You need to be fired. Heck, we might need to murder you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was one of my hesitations, like, getting back in radio. Like when I got let go at MMS, I had a radio agent and he was trying to, I did, like, I tried out for the 97.9, the Loop. They flew me out and I thought that was a done deal. And then they backpedaled and they hired, what's his name? Mancow.
Oh yeah. Mancow. Yes.
Yeah. And then I tried a couple, but I was just like, do I really want to go back in that world? Because it's just, they're all just gunning for each other's jobs and they'll try to get you fired. And especially in this day and age, I don't want anything to do with it. Fuck that. I don't want some guy just trying to go after my job for something I said or something I did. Fuck that. It's not for me, man.
I mean, think about what you guys did on Alan Cox back in, 10, 12 years ago. And at least in those days, Twitter was in its infancy. And, MySpace had gone away by then, but Facebook and YouTube were really hot at that time. And what you guys did, to your credit, or mainly you, of course.
Yeah. There's no you guys. I wrote everything.
Yeah.
I wrote everything. Me and Miles.
I was just gonna say you and Miles, not Alan or Erica or anything. But what you did is you used the medium properly. The problem is those mediums have changed over time. And a lot of that changed by the time Trump came around in 2015, 2016. But it was at one time where Twitter was fun. It was the free speech thing where, it's 2 a.m. You got home from the bars and, you just shoot the shit. You're rambling on Twitter and everything. And YouTube was the thing that you post stupid videos. They weren't well produced. You just post something. I don't even know if there was live streaming in those days. And then things really started to change where Twitter is basically, if you're not, and I've said this countless times, if you're not on Twitter now, like you're not an active user, you'll never be an active user. There's no reason to. The only people who are obsessed with Twitter are journalists, wannabe journalists, or people who are obsessed with working in or around mass media.
And trolls.
But your normal everyday Twitter, like your next door neighbor, if he or she has a Twitter account, they probably signed up 10 years ago and probably haven't tweeted anything since 2013 and haven't gone back there since then. That's your average person.
Well,
most
my next
people
door
are not
neighbor
on Twitter.
is a 75-year-old African-American woman named Pat. And I know for a fact she's not on Twitter.
She's not on Twitter? No.
But here's the future, Tony, right here. Boom. And I don't even care. I have this. It's called a TikTok account. I didn't want it. But look at me, and I have viral videos. This one has 6.4 million views on my TikTok. So
know that.
And I don't even give a shit. But this is like what everybody's looking at, these little clips and these videos. And I'm just doing it because I feel like I got to, because of stand-up, and I would like to sell some tickets. But
it's something else to do. Well, that was the thing, though, is you signed up for, I remember signing up for Instagram like 10 years ago and going, yeah, you know what? This is probably the new thing, but I didn't think it was going to be a social media, like what it became. I thought Instagram was, it's like you post a place for photos. Instead, it became the new social media engine. And then there was that time with Vine. Vine wasn't too much longer after that. You said, well, I got to sign up for a Vine. I don't know how to use it. I don't know what it's about. I don't know if it's going to do anything, but I guess I'm going to be on Vine because it's one extra thing, and you always want to be ahead of the game. Like, what's the next social media network?
I thought Vine was fucking dumb from the get-go. I didn't even sign up. I was like, fuck that.
But that's what TikTok basically is now.
Yeah,
is an extension of Vine. Vine was 6-second videos. Then I think they went to 8 seconds, and then when Instagram decided to start posting stories, they're like, "Yep, Vine's done."
I remember Chris D'Elia got big on. Well, he was big on Vine too.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember he kind of cornered that market, but I was just like, I just didn't get it. I didn't care. And even with TikTok, I don't give a fuck. In fact, I always say this every podcast. If I win the lottery, you'll never see me again. I will delete all social media, and I will go to Key West and die on the beach, period.
You and Nick Swartzen on the beach down in Key West.
Hanging out. I think Nick was on his way to doing that.
Yeah, it's the whole TikTok thing. I'm not on TikTok. I've seen videos from it. I don't get the narcissism. I mean, look, in order to be a stand-up comic and to have your own podcast, everybody has a form of narcissism because that's what's got to be your driver. It's got to drive you to getting your subscribers up and listens and sell tickets and everything. So you have to have a little bit of narcissism. But these are just everyday people who are. I mean, what happened to people like, okay, I'm just not, I don't want to be in the spotlight. Okay, maybe I have a Facebook page and I'll post like picture of my family on Easter, and that was it. Now it's like your everyday 14-year-old wants to do a TikTok dance or is piercing their nose or identifying as something. When did this why? When did this happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think I'd live long enough to see the insanity of all this, but hopefully, like, judging by history, things will swing back the other way and hopefully find a happy medium. But
Go back to newspapers.
Let's cleanse the palate, if you will, and make this a little bit lighter conversation because we were talking before we went on the podcast. You were talking about how in hot water, as you know, Compound Media, Aaron Berg's leaving the network, which I don't really watch. I know you do, and I guess Gino's been trolling him with the N-word. Is that true?
Apparently, I think so. I think that's been used a few times, and to the point where on Chrissy Mayer's show on Monday, that one of the porn stars, who apparently is followed on Twitter by Barack Obama, oddly enough, she walked off the show because of the amount of times that word was being thrown around by a caller on the phone. And by the way, Kevin was in studio there too.
By the way, let me just say this real quick. Talk about a phony trashing Chrissy Mayer on and off air for almost 3 years. And now both those phonies, they're doing each other's show out of desperation. Like, if Chrissy had any balls, she's like, go fuck yourself, Kevin. But she's a phony too. So fuck them. Fuck all of them. And yeah, the whole fucking network's falling apart, and I'm happy.
Yeah, that's it. It's sad because you talk about a free speech network, and we've as being that haven. And when Cumia signed up, or when I signed up for Cumia's network when he got fired from Sirius, and it was like, okay, this is where you go because he's going to do, he's going to drop F-bombs and he's going to, do content that he wasn't able to do with Opie. And then all of a sudden you start hearing Legion of Skanks and other shows, and Gavin were brought on the network. And then you go, and then as time has been going on, you need to have some kind of management. And they really haven't had. You had a guy who was a security guy, a former police officer running the network, and now you have a radio producer who's running the network. It's like, where's the person who's like the president of the network who can really help guide and come up with like new innovative ideas? Instead, it's the inmates truly running the asylum over there.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's the, I don't know. I don't watch it. I don't give a shit because it's just, I don't know. I'm not into it.
Like, who gives Artie Lang that much money when you know damn well he's not going to show up for anything?
By the way, Artie Lang, I know it's kind of the ongoing joke every time a comic dies. Still going. This guy's indestructible. Indestructible. Gilbert.
I was going to ask you about Gilbert because I saw your photo with Gilbert. Do you have any Gilbert? I don't know if you did any on your Patreon or anything, but any Gilbert stories?
I did. I just did sit down Zumock with Tyler, and I told one. I met him like 5 times, but the one, and he's very soft spoken, and he doesn't, he just, oh, okay, yeah. He doesn't really have, he's not doesn't have much of a conversation. But I remember distinctively the first Skank Fest in Brooklyn. I was in the hallway, and I was talking with Mark Normand, and Gilbert.
Yes, was just Normand.
Gilbert just kind of just walked up to us. I think he maybe recognized Mark, or he just was lost. I don't know. And we're like, hey, Gilbert, how you doing? And then a photographer came by and took a photo, and I put it on my Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram.
That's a great photo.
Yeah, it was great. And we just awkwardly, me and Mark just kept talking while Gilbert just stood there. Like, we were trying to he was just kind of like listening. It was, there really wasn't much to it, but that was like 3-4 years ago, and he was frail then.
Mm-hmm.
Very frail.
Yeah, it was. I've seen, so I met Gilbert a couple of times after shows, and he's hawking his merchandise, of course. He's got his books. I think his book is called Rubber Balls and Liquor, of course, because it's Gilbert. Mm-hmm. And he's got his CDs, and he's got T-shirts, and he's got autograph pictures you can buy from him and everything. And it's before Cameo, because I think they said he made $2 million from cameos. He was one of the top Cameo stars. Him and the guy, the fat guy who spilled chili from The Office, I guess, were among the top Cameo stars, because Gilbert would roast people. But last time I saw him was in 2019. I went up to Buffalo, and I was at Helium, and I saw Gilbert, and I got a picture after the show because another picture I had an ex-girlfriend in it. And I'm like, yeah, can I have a do-over? I'd like one just with you and me. And he looked like a little old lady, and he was frail, and you're like, wow, this guy's like, but he wasn't talking to anybody. I think he was waiting for his food, and then he was going to go back to the hotel, because Gilbert was notorious for being not only extremely cheap, but he would take the bars of soap and the shampoos and conditioners from every hotel.
Watch his documentary. It's have you seen his documentary?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I recommend it. I think it's free somewhere, but yeah, that's what he does. He just takes all the free shit you get in a hotel.
I know.
Yeah, can I get some more? Can I get some more of the little mini toothpaste and the toothbrushes?
Yeah, but I said this on the podcast I just did with Tyler. We had in just probably a year span, you had Norm, Louis Anderson, Bob Saget, Gilbert. Who's next?
Who do you want to kill next?
That's what I said to Tyler. I go, who do you want dead next? What dead comic do you want next?
Yeah, let's see. Because like I start seeing this pattern because Norm was one of my favorite comics. You know, I always respected Louis Anderson, but you know, he wasn't obviously one of my favorites. I've never met Louis. I talked to him over the phone. I've seen Bob Saget live. The classic was that photo that was posted last week with it had Norm, it had Bob Saget, it had who was it? Oh, Gilbert, and then it was Jeff Ross. And everyone's like, oh, well, we know who's next.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing is that like I don't want to even say names because I don't want to jinx anything, but I'm just thinking like this is why people need to go out and go see live comedy, because you get to have those stories where you met the comic afterward, or you have a story that you saw them live. Like I saw Bob Saget. That was actually one of my first comedy shows I ever saw. And it wasn't very good, but this was right after the Aristocrats. So he's kind of like, oh, Danny Tanner's dirty now. Wow, I didn't know that. And with Gilbert, so I saw him a couple of times. And the first time I remembered seeing the table next to me at the Pittsburgh Improv before they redid it was it was a couple. I don't know if they were a husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, but the guy, Gilbert's on stage going up there. He does his thank you bit where he starts thanking everybody for the first 10 minutes of the show for no reason. Yeah. And then he says that, my name is Gilbert Gottfried, but my Hebrew name is money grubbing Christ killer. And so
Tony, you're giving away his act.
Yeah, I don't want to give away the act. I think he did a Ben Gazzara reference. Like everybody has been dead for 50 years by that was going on. But I remember looking at this couple that was next to me, and the guy is falling off his chair onto the floor, and this woman is just staring at the stage, going, "What is this? What am I watching here? This isn't funny." It's like, it's hilarious. What are you talking about? He's making Hervé Villachez references, like
from Fantasy Island. You know what's hilarious is how Stern, speaking of woke, Stern wouldn't have Gilbert on anymore, and he's probably provided some of the funniest radio of all time. I tweeted out there was a time where I was driving, and it was the infamous Artie Lang and him saying the N-bombs. And on terrestrial radio. Yes. And I literally had to pull the car over and laughing because Stern was getting pissed. They wouldn't stop. They were acting like children. It was.
Oh, is that the one where he's like, no more N-words, no more N-words. Okay, yeah. Robin, what's next in the news? And I said, Spike Lee. And then they just start laughing again.
Gilbert's laughing. Yeah. I mean, it was some of it's on YouTube. You could find it, but I just distinctly remember driving and having to pull over the car. I was like, I can't drive. I'm going to get in a wreck.
I had that too. The same situation, but
going back to what I was saying, but so Howard quit having him on completely, and
he was told, yeah,
and so he had to die for them to talk about him. Then they do a whole eulogy on him.
Yeah, they did, but they did a eulogy. Didn't they do it on Howard 101? So it was like their secondary channel. They did Gilbert clips, but on Howard 100, it was same normal woke Howard Stern of 2022 now. It's amazing how a show like that, you went from having Gilbert Gottfried, Billy West, Jackie Martling. These are people who are because Gilbert was a frequent guest to the point where he may as well have been. Yes, exactly. Dana Plato.
Like Jan Michael Vincent when he was fucked up going through car windows. He had an eye patch on. He's wearing like a bathrobe, like out of control. Jan Michael Vincent.
Like there were times where they would have. Wasn't it? Rodney and Sam Kinison flew from Vegas to New York just to be on Stern that morning, and then they flew back. There were all these crazy stories that were going on why that show was so great at one time. And it's the same thing as the Amy Schumer situation is apologizing for what made you famous in the first place is embarrassing. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing. And Gilbert helped make was Gilbert the show? No. But when Gilbert was on the show, you knew that you couldn't do anything. I remember I was in school, and when Gilbert would be on, I was in high school, and Gilbert would be on Howard with Artie. And I brought a Walkman into school just so I can listen to another 30 to 45 minutes of listening to what they were going to say and just piss your pants laughter. And to have the guy who runs the show and his name is on the marquee essentially apologize for that stuff is it's like finding out there's no Easter bunny.
Yeah. I mean, that was pure joy. That was happiness. We were laughing, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with joking around. There isn't. And it sucks that, you know, we're in this climate today. By the way, who wants to be famous at this point? It's gross. Like, do you see these celebrities?
Bert Kreischer does.
It's fucking insane. Like, I don't think these celebrities are cool. Like, I don't want to hang out with these people. Like, I don't find them like, oh, dude, I got to hang out with Machine Gun Kelly. They're not cool. Like, I've hung out with Machine Gun Kelly. Nice enough guy, you know, but I don't care. I don't give a shit.
They're boring people. You know, you and I have talked about this with radio, is that the people listening want to hang out with the guys on the radio, but the guys on the radio want to go home. They want to go back to their families and go to bed at a decent hour. It's everybody else you want to hang out with. And you realize, oh, those people that I listened to that I thought were cool are really not cool. And it's the same thing with celebrities, that every so often you get people who have a celebrity story that's kind of cool. And, you know, I know you've had your share and everything, but you get swept up in it, especially when you lived out in LA, and you lived there a couple of times. So you've told the Jessica Simpson story.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get kind of swept up because it is intoxicating when you're around people. Like, I mean, for me, when I was working in locker rooms, and I was going to, whether it was baseball, football, basketball locker rooms, and I'm looking around it, I mean, these are A-listers. Like, I'm standing next to Kobe right now. Like, LeBron knows who I am, at least, you know, looking at me, because I've been in the locker room so many times that you may not know my first name, not know where I live, not give a shit about me. But it's one of those things where you could tell why people get so intoxicated about being around those kind of people. And you gotta put that out of your mind and say, these people don't give a shit about you. They don't like you. In fact, they have nothing but contempt for you if you're just an everyday normal person trying to earn a living. And when you kind of find that out, it really is like seeing how the sausage gets made, and you almost don't like it anymore.
The worst are like the local celebrities. And I can only speak from Cleveland experience, because I would frequent the Barley House, and they would have like a Cleveland Browns player, or just somebody, or just like like Ricky Smith for some reason. Like, these people, like, I'm like, who gives a fuck? And they would just kiss these people's ass.
Yeah, that's on a local level. Imagine if you were in Los Angeles or New York, you'd have these kind of people just kissing that kind of ass. I mean, if you're trying to kiss the ass of somebody who's not even a minor local celebrity, like you saw the person host the cruising TV car show or something, you're like, oh, you're the guy who hosts the car show, or like, hey, didn't I see you? Oh, you're working at Trader Joe's right now. You know, those kind of people that you meet locally. I love inside jokes that we've explained on the show. But I mean, it's weird how intoxicated people get when it comes to celebrity. And, you know, I've met my share. And by the way, I say this as somebody who in 2 weeks is going to meet Billy West because he's at a fan expo.
See, that's different. I like the niche weird celebrity. Like, if I were to meet like Mr. T, it would be amazing. Like, I was in Clearwater 2 weeks ago because I wanted to meet Hulk Hogan, because every Monday he's at his restaurant. And until I found out you got to pay $30 to get in, I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah, that was what when there was a Comic-Con that was not far from me, and I was telling you, I'm like, oh, Sergeant Slaughter's going to be there, and he was charging like $50 an autograph picture. I'm like, it's Sergeant Slaughter. I'd go up to him for free. I wouldn't spend a dime to get a photo with Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
Or you get an autograph photo of Sam Jones from Flash Gordon.
Flash, defenders of the universe. Oh my goodness. Well, Tony, as you know, in broadcasting, that's a celebrity.
Yes, I had to do this. Now, this one was free, by the way.
Super host Marty Sullivan, rest in peace. That's a local Cleveland iconic. What would you call him? Late night movie host?
I don't even know. He wasn't late night. Wasn't he like a Saturday afternoon guy?
Saturday afternoon. You're right.
He'd like have Three Stooges shorts or something and do.
He was a late night
awful
newscaster.
Sketches. Didn't he do the was it the Convoy?
Oh yeah.
Which that guy, the guy who did that, I think he just died last week.
What, the Convoy sketch?
No, the song,
CB McCall.
Yeah, I think he just died like last week or 2 weeks ago.
Really?
C.W. McCall, yeah.
C.W. McCall. Yeah. That's a good song. That is a good
Convoy.
song. Yeah, let's take a walk down memory lane here real quick.
God, this is just awful.
Look at, I mean, I don't know. I don't even think you can get in trouble for copyright issues, but look at this.
Does it have 25,000 views?
I think 20,000 are because of me.
Is that Brian McCarthy?
But I remember watching this on TV as a child, literally watching this and looking forward to it when they would replay it. They just took a cardboard cutout and made it like the front of a truck. It's so bad.
Is that his coat on a hanger in the back?
Yeah. And then they use these little toy cars and they're put into the song Convoy by C.W. McCall. It's on YouTube. Just look up Superhost Convoy.
And a little children's mat of.
And I apologize to just the audio listeners. I know I hate when podcasts and radio shows just watch videos.
That looks like Opie on the left there. That's what he looks like now. Except Opie's going bald too.
Yeah, he's
Is that Richard Keel in the middle? from Jaws from James Bond.
This is, it's go watch it on YouTube. It's really bad, but it's nostalgia for me, and I think it's hilarious.
You got it.
Speaking of Patreon, sign up to my Patreon, guys, for as little as $3. Mondays with MAZUR is a podcast we do behind the paywall because let's face it, you can't just say whatever you want. So we want to put it behind the paywall where it's safe and
at least we think it's safe behind the paywall.
So yeah, so you can listen to Tony's podcast, Check Your Brain. You can subscribe to it on all audio platforms and also sign up to his Patreon. Please sign up to both of ours.
Patreon.com/Tony MAZUR. Please sign up. And I say this not just as a way to get people to sign up, but Sean, one of our shared Patreon subscribers, said, I was having trouble. Like, I had no problem subscribing to Chad's, but for whatever reason, his card or his whatever he was using, PayPal or something, was not going through on mine. So I don't know if I was getting shadow banned, if they were like limiting and they were trying to fuck with people, but that was weird thing that was going on the last week or 2 weeks. He was like, I'm trying to sign up or trying to re-sign for another month. And for whatever reason, it's saying it's not working. So I don't know if my content is making me shadow banned on Patreon. So please, if you want more content, and just like what we were talking about today, you get that 5 months a month.
All right. Every Monday, guys. Thanks for listening. That's a wrap. Good night.